In a small village surrounded by cliffs and underground rivers, there was a cave that the locals avoided at all costs. They called it the Cave That Devours Time. No one knew exactly why it had such a name, but the stories were enough to keep the curious away. It was said that those who entered never returned, or if they did, they came back years later, not having aged a single day. Lucia was a journalist obsessed with debunking local myths. After stumbling upon a brief mention of the cave in an old book of legends, she decided to investigate. It's just superstition, she thought, though deep down, something about the cave's description unsettled her. One afternoon, Lucia convinced a local guide, an older man named Don Mateo, to take her to the place. Mateo, though reluctant, agreed on the condition that he would remain outside. "If you go in, don't expect me to help you get out," he warned. The cave's entrance was a dark hole in the rock, covered in moss and barely visible from a distance. Lucia turned on her flashlight and stepped inside, while Mateo sat near the edge, muttering prayers under his breath. The cave's interior was stranger than she had imagined. It wasn't just a tunnel. The walls seemed to glow faintly, almost as if they were alive. Drops of water falling from the ceiling echoed endlessly, and the air carried a metallic scent, almost like blood. As she ventured deeper, Lucia noticed something peculiar. Her watch, which she had checked before entering, had stopped. She didn't give it much thought at first, but the sensation of being out of sync with time grew stronger with every step. Suddenly, her flashlight flickered and went out. In the pitch-black darkness, Lucia heard something, a soft whisper, like hundreds of voices speaking all at once but in a language she couldn't understand. Terrified, the journalist tried to retrace her steps, but she could no longer find the way back. The walls seemed to shift, changing shape, closing in around her. When she finally managed to turn her flashlight back on, what it illuminated froze her in place. There was a humanoid figure, completely covered in a dark, glimmering dust. It seemed to be staring directly at Lucia, though it had no eyes. The figure extended a hand, and Lucia felt a pull in her chest, as if something was being ripped out of her. Lucia screamed and ran, tripping and falling several times. After what felt like an eternity, she found the exit. The daylight blinded her, and Mateo, upon seeing her, stepped back in horror. "What day is it?" Lucia gasped. Mateo stared at her in disbelief. "Today is Sunday, in the year 2045. Lucia dropped her flashlight. She had entered the cave in 2025. Her face remained that of a young woman, but years had passed for everyone else. They say that from that day on, Lucia became another legend of the village. Some nights, her voice can be heard from the cave, warning the curious, "Don't go in, time has no mercy."